And you're a radical. So, kiddies, we're going to talk about your favorite subject. Your favorite. I remember when I was a honor student at 16 years old, and that's back when academia was still good. And I remember the legendary professor, Dr. Winters, did this incredible lecture when I was young on Spanish flu and how nobody knows about Spanish flu, and because for decades people wouldn't even talk about it. It was so painful and so hard that he used to make us walk through the Ogden Cemetery and identify. And people he'd say, when you're kids and you're playing in the cemetery and you see this sign that says "killed by the beast," and you're all that. That's what they used to call it. They called it the beast. You know, so Fukushima is the beast on Balco, I'm going to start calling it. So, I want to talk about nuclear waste. CNBC's got a pretty good piece out of all people. They used to be owned by GE, talking about the $44 billion that the taxpayer has paid in to the repository fund, which is actually $126 billion. And guess what? Oh, they stole it, just like the Social Security fund that you paid your own money into. They stole it. So Holtec, as you know, took title of the nuclear waste or the reactors at San Onofre, at Indian Point, at Oyster Creek, at Pilgrim. You're talking 4 of the top 10 nastiest nuclear reactors in the world. So let's talk about this, because this is the elephants in the room, and that's what Kevin Blanch does. That's why I don't have any view count. That's why everybody flees from me. You can't handle the truth, America. So let's talk about your favorite subject that no one will freaking talk about, the elephants in the parlor, Fukushima. And as far as nuclear energy to the young people, and by the way, I want to say this to all young people, do not count on educating yourself at a university. I mean, you go to university if it's cheap. I'm still all for it, for somewhat of to get your high school diploma, because that's what a college degree is now. It's a high school diploma. You think about how much you have to pay for it. You know, the game's rigged. And you're not going to learn shit. You've got to self-educate in the name of the great Aaron Swartz. Self-educate, 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 self-educate. You have to self-educate. So, we're going to chalk all this Fukushima into coincidence. We're going to chalk up the wiped out tide pools in 2012. We're going to chalk up the sea lions and the sills collapsing 2013, 14, Washington. A lot of them with cancer in them. We're going to chalk that up. We're going to chalk up the heat bubble over the western United States. We're going to chalk up the greatest fires in history. When you have 5,000-year-old trees, 5,000-year-old tree, 20% of the old sequoias, 3,000 to 5,000 years burnt down. These are trees that have been through hundreds, if not thousands, of fires. And I will quote the own biologist. These fires are different than any fires in history. The elephant in the room, Fukushima. What changed? You're going to ignore the 99% collapse in most steelhead salmon that live in the sea. You're going to ignore in 5 years that over 90%, 95% collapse in the Chinook salmon. So in science, as I was talking to a young wannabe PhD in San Diego, I tell him, do not go on the Hill. Don't go to San Diego, UCSD. Do not go to Scripps. They're not going to do anything. Greenpeace and Sierra Club showed their colors with Fukushima, didn't they? It's like fighting cancer. I didn't realize how weak people are about it, and you can't be weak. I mean, I don't want to talk about it. I was given 2 months. I was going into a coma this week, 10 years ago today. So, we're going to chalk it all up to coincidence. Not me. Not me. I'm going to face the reality. So I'm like, he says, well, I'm going to be a statistics PhD and a biology. I says, that's right up my alley. You know, that's what I was. I says, well, let's talk about Fukushima. Let's talk about salmon. They were all talking. I says, okay, you're a stats guy. We have 10 years of data now on the salmon. We don't count dead tide pools. Kevin Blanch does. We don't count dead humans in bone marrow transplant centers. HIPAA laws. Oh, Kevin Blanch does. We don't even correlate coincidence in this dynamic. Kevin Blanch does. I debunk coincidence. We count all the salmon. We count every one of them. We have the data. And this, so you can plug it in. Any regressionary model, you can build it, right? Yeah. I says, now what's that called when it starts to pop up? Deviating from the mean. I says, well, you plug in 10-year data on all the rivers. The Columbia, the Jedediah, Smith has no dams. On all these dams, the Fraser all the way up, you plug in all the data and you're going to freaking deviate from the mean by 1 billion times. And what do we call those, class? What do we call that when it shoots up like that? An outliner. So it's obvious any regression model you build is going to show an outliner, something radical, crazy. This is not like this. As I talked to a guy on the platform, I says, no, this is radical acute change. I says, mystified, baffled, stumped, perplexed, bewildered is all we've heard for 10 years. That's not science. That's actually the opposite of science. That's hyperbole. In fact, that is degenerate freaking education, which anybody who said that, you need to get on your knees and turn your degrees in. Because you have defrauded your students, you have defrauded the American populace. NOAA, freaking the EPA, all these agencies, all these professors, all these marine biologists have betrayed their own students, betrayed the taxpayer, betrayed the world populace, betrayed the animals, betrayed Mother Earth. You need to get down on your knees and beg for forgiveness. So, it plugs, any regression model will show, it's unarguable now. It's not opinion. First you hypothesize the knowledge, Kevin Letch. That's an hypothesis. Then you do the field work. 10 years. Going to give you cancer. I got cancer. So the whole dynamic. Then we have unarguable data now. Unarguable data. So we know that an outliner happened in 2011. It's absolutely unarguable science. Did a meteor hit the Earth? You can't go with the overfishing, which is a problem. You can't go with the so-called slow warming of the Earth, which is a problem. All these things, of course, they're a problem. But this is science when we're pointing to an acute freaking outliner. When the salmon collapse in 5 years on the Columbia River and the Chinook, 99, 95%, in 5 years, they go to sea for 5 years. They collapsed in 2016 on Q. When the steelhead collapsed 99% post-2011. When the typhoid, just a virus, 2011. I mean, come on. So, nuclear waste. The elephant that we're ignoring in the room is spent fuel pools. Now, we can have this argument all day long. Do we keep it in dry cast containers on site, which we do in dozens and dozens of reactors? In California, we're screaming our head off about sending off. Obviously, we should. But it's on dry cast in Rancho, in Sacramento. It's in dry cast on site at Humboldt. You know, Eureka, District 49, panning for plutonium. The elephant that we're ignoring is nuclear waste and spent fuel pools in ongoing reactors. Diablo Canyon, tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. There's the elephant. These spent fuel pools were never built. Now, CNBC won't report that. Nobody will report that because it's the tough subject. It's like Fukushima. They're not going to say the F word. I got Mike Levin to say the F word, but he had to read it off this shirt. But he did say it. You know. District 49, panning for plutonium. So, do we leave it on site? Or do we put it at a central location? I say centrally located in a safe place. But we're ignoring the fact of spent fuel pools. Now, we've got some of the nastiest reactors. If somebody would